hello, species value nature system. Real fast, I want to say nations like 1747. What does it say? Say these nations can't get along on paper for these spots. That's per how we're stuck in a value nature system where jobs each day to eat is from a tactically denatured relationship to nature. And the sciences of a value nature relationship to nature, and as value as nature, in other words, when as our value revealed, see, but this was tactically sabotaged, tactically degraded since some ancient times to maintain negative value nature progressions blamed on others and on selves by all as opinion nature. And now here when we come to opinions about with politics and stuff like that, we have three natures of fake maintained per what? Maintain more than 99.9% of the crimes demonstrably per a crime method entrenched in America since before our nation's founding, which the Revolutionary War, one thing our founders wanted discerned demonstrably was that and how the Revolutionary War was just a war. That was just to enter another phase as an identity that was still extorting, and it was worse. It was a juxtaposition of methods and natures of extortion and of torture differential system that came from some ancient times. It just reminds. So Campus Martius is revealed as value for, by and as our value nature relationship to itself as nature, actual system, which is in relationship to the phenomena of the perfect value progression, which the volume of in the value of positive and negative keep increasing. That's as we're here where they're only positive together, or forced from here as negative to be made positive for perfect positives only that realize perfect value conjunction, because a little bit more of the semi-nature only because of the complete nature of space comes through. A phenomenon of a semi-nature anyway, because anyway, supposed to say anyway, not anyway. Because it's only a little bit of itself, but it's its complete nature, and that it's its non-distinct relationship to itself, all parts of everything. So us, the identity of existence and of space as it, but distinctly and non-distinctly as space, which allows us to be able to discern this with science. Sciences that share an identity that has been obfuscated since the same ancient times. This just reminds. Campus wisdom, I type. Okay. Anyway. So, in other words, then realizing that value, because this is not what the species body wants, to be suit and tie nations, counters to it, same thing, per criminally re-engineered to the semi-ancient times, value and nature of sciences in relationship to itself, ourself as nature self relationship, where our quality of diffusion life, positive or negative, because in relationship to our nature's relationship to itself, as a quality of diffusion coming through matter, while already beyond it, and while already before it as value. boxing. Temporary space nature and everything already made from it, the perfect value gain of it. It's an identity of progression. See, the science is Trinity, distinctly, non-distinctly. Yin Yang, distinctly, non-distinctly. The science is that nations together revealed English. Yin Yang is to teach about a semi-nature, complete nature, relationship to itself, show its inside value, letter slash value nature, O, omega, capital O, which is positive as our nature. That's what the inside of the O is showing, our nature. Value as nature. And all values have a value nature, value slash value nature relationship to itself. How could even a rock have a value nature relationship to itself? Because before the finite of that rock, the complete identity of space and the complete identity of existence as the same one, but simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, it was the value of the bond of that rock. And is simultaneously the value of a bond onto even the value of all concepts. Anything that could be was already a semi-nature before this temporary space nature, Trinity, and a little bit beyond, and also perfectly gained the 5 pillars. See, 5 values of the Yin Yang as nature. Same time, 3 values as nature. Same time, 2 values as nature. Same time, 1 value is nature. Allah. You see, but they took the messengers of modern religions had to defend parts of themselves. English was used to defend. America was used to defend the Republic and overall up Latin in conjunction with English, which was revealed as a value that also in relationship to Arabic, right to left value, and left to right value at the same time. English is revealed to teach this. In other words, we have Latin laws like habeas corpus, habeas certiorari. But see, if we don't have another nature of statutes, I'm not even a lawyer, not a criminal, not a police form. Boxing is there are proofs that the ancients revealed boxing. One of its values was in relationship to a nature of criminal insidiousness, understanding of it, of needs to counter it, and of needs to its, and of what causes it that no one understands because it's being obfuscated. Means it's being made not understood, not sequence nature. It's first now. We're here. This is the active, simultaneously inherent, progressive, contained value. All complete bodies of value have also a simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the complete identity of space. Simultaneously, it having a complete distinct and non-distinct relationship to itself as the identity of existence too, that's at the same time onto us, juxtaposed. So we can see this. The identity of existence is bigger than space, semi-bigger, and it's semi-bigger beyond it as 2 natures. That's why there are these phenomena. the sequence is first at both ends. So we what we could do, like we have the middle. We have fact, treatment, nature, opinion, nature, in a trap that has not just 99 points, not just to say a clever thing, or just even not just to say a real thing, to know how it should be used. Because what sustains that sustains people invested to lie, progression, cover up nature's needs, roles, and styles formal. You see, there was laws against, there was slavery of our founders was recorded. They couldn't even challenge no laws. In other words, you had your behavior told how to act like a play, which is still through evidence reception and offensive, uncharged original state, database illusion stacking, identity thefts, evidence crimes that no one's going to check. So no one, they just write other. Tell the news to write other multi-front. The same way there and here realized, but distinctly different, hurting each nation more, different ways to stay undiscerned how non-distinctly this came before modern nations, to keep all defending pseudo-positive behavior as roles preventing mandates theft and our identity thefts from being demonstrated because all evidence reception bodies, they're not going to get, they don't lift unless they justify what is unjustifiable originally instilled. Religion fell. Not a person, I mean fill the legion. Await, be trial, tried. Like law, the legion is not value when not tried. We're not nature. And the nature is not value when it's not valuing the nature of exceptions simultaneously with its own in relationship to the nature of the law and to the law itself simultaneously, because this is correlation. And then further identity value. See, this is an identity theft crime. Black, see pupils peer. One way is clear. I play no games. It only feels like game because it has never been treated the organized crime method. It has been blamed on other things, vaccines. See, it is recorded that right through our schools, they left out how explaining how there and here and everywhere foreign agencies, hundreds of nations, sharing policing and market positions, which are value nature system, why we eat and stuff like that, but tactically ulterior from actual one. All forced, recorded, fact treatment nature, tortured, and with convictions, still not letting free speech demonstrate, wrought with delusions into science, wrought evil, using Santa Claus is about this too, by the way. As we'll see, St. Nicholas was put in prison by criminal courts then and now. So when I was a kid in grammar school, through time, Hartford, Connecticut, since before our founding, there were overt criminal enterprises, and there were nations shared here, and it was England forced to be the face by what was extorting England. Now it's America forced to be the face of what is extorting America in relationship to what our founders would say, in relationship to this being hid too, by them recorded, pretending things recorded, stealing people's identity, massive medical corruption, them forging names, switching names. This is because they're preventing the courts involved with recorded for sustained crime rules. See, they were juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprises, and nations legalized their here, shared policing to agreements within as agreements, policing everything because of relationship to markets and stuff that was never space system is going to continue to show negative value nature progression, lethal IDs. Earth's value goes through us, only one species, little species, so it took so long. Only reason it took so long. That's why everything's manifested in space. Delusions, and with sensibilities that are pretending that pseudo positive doesn't want to, is holding back what its premises and its physical delusions and and its motivations and stuff like that, because that's preventing demonstration of intersciences, lies, and delusions perpetually. Passions pretending to be science being used against it. Motivations for it recorded, not let even reported. Not only do we have fake news, they're multi-front stealing people's voices and identities with identity theft clicks. They have crime rolls with all kinds of, there's like CCSU, Middlesex Community College, and like Weathersfield schools, Hartford schools, New Britain schools, Middletown schools. They have roles with interbranch ages of courts, like Washington, D.C., connected to here, programs with prisons and stuff like that, with kids and stuff like that. Now, these people were built originally and still as everyone is victim in this, but they're not letting that demonstrated because they need to steal people's voices before they could demonstrate correlation, which is each branch recorded, inclusion, switching names, forging names, even police in intercity with ours, stacking the same, attaching people that weren't even at arrest sites onto the narratives of stacked falsified police reports, pretended made mistakes with all the departments they got involved, with arrests that wasn't even real in the first place, with a where they brought a problem to appear they gave to someone else, with other police from other towns on and off campus. In other words, Detective Smoot, he never arrested me. He walked into a court, handed something to my mother, who he didn't know either, lied to her that pretended he arrested me. After other officers, they've been in courts, they've been doing this for years because they're recorded and confessed involved with federal criminals. Before they were federal criminals, they had all kinds of recorded crime rolls that were then and are now exploited by and recorded methodically, not let countered for the juxtaposition of interbranch actors all tied to them, prison cliques and stuff like that. Now realize crime methods recorded when I was in middle school 2 years, grammar school, middle school, recorded and confessed how the overt criminal enterprises are recorded and confessed by and through interbranch roles with kids, having them fake behaviors because they're typing stuff into databases and they need illusions that they're doing that for. These are natures and roles with methods of crime bonded by the one that everyone missed, even kings, boxing, even queens, even chiefs. No disbelieves. In other words, nature will not slow down the expansion of positive value nature that is also positive onto itself, as science reveals. And when it's not also positive onto itself, that's the difference between how it's simultaneously, distinctly, and non-distinctly onto immediate space nature. In relationship to the identity of nature, Allah, that is before temporary space nature and is after all temporary space nature, and all that was already made through it as it's gaining value, as a trinity nature. And we have the five pillars. And that identity overall is also inherent to its identity, inherent nature of volume, where it's mostly inherent nature of volume. Gaining, because it's going to and from itself, it's gaining itself, it's all bonded. It doesn't slow down because our system is now tactical ulterior from the one that causes evolution. The ancients knew how to cause evolution by valuing the bond that is its value onto itself because of its connection to active body of value discernment and acts and inaction relationship, neutrality relationship, discernment of, this is only all things, Maxine. Error, try again. Edit and try again. I don't know why it says error. And so then when we do that with the nations that are can agree to do that, you just make it even more valuable by throwing and make things easier for other nations like India, the land down under, for Australia. Because we're obviously China. See the pace we're going at because we're in an ulterior from actual value nature system. The waters and stuff like that, we can't slow down to do what we could do to, for no cost, even to make money, because, we need like a world healing day, cleaning day. We need to clean. We got to work with the seasons. Like we missed this season. That's too bad. Because now is where the seeds go in. The window. The short window. See, but they don't want this nature of correlation to have voice. So when I was in grammar school, and then when I was in middle school, people in middle school pretended and were told to pretend they knew me when I was in grammar school because of whatever they were writing in the database with interbranch clicks with kids that I don't even know. Sometimes the ones that, God knows what they write. You know what I'm saying? These are people this isn't when you go on this way in the real world. They go online bullying and stuff like that. That term bullying is recorded involved with what is non-distinctly through our nations. Russians are recorded and confessed victim predators. They're here with psychology, with all kinds of Harvard Hospital doctors recorded forging names and switching names. And then, because I caught them, then even making up, pretending people yelled, lying about behavior, lying about words, forging whole conversations, detailed conversations about the Trade Center attack context too, as doctors, investigators with the Trade Center context, all kinds of ways recorded, tied into federal criminals in that, and since they were kids, and having attached me to conversations about their drug clicks and evidence fabrication clicks, proven and further recorded with into the same interbranch cliques, intermilitary, foreign and domestic families, with policing, but also overt criminal enterprises. And see, now this is this is where they have associate criminals in relationship to who's running the drugs, but that's not what is facilitating the overall criminal enterprises to collusion. Really, is through what is with the stream of court each day, because it's keeping database relationships to keep lie progression, cover up natures, and lie progressions already engineered to an as manifest nature, already invested, blaming on other things, needing the real causes of this, the 99 votes and the uses of it, maintained to all area states. This is a method that hurt everyone. See, but the only way to stop it is for the forgiveness, because we have to be able to demonstrate originally still the branches inclusion. The branches inclusion. That's why John F. Kennedy, President Kennedy, he said we have a conspiracy against this country. It is recorded that and how and confessed doctors. We have a whole bunch of doctors of psychology who are also police forms, foreign and domestic juxtaposed, interbranch, roles with prisons. Now these are also recorded with roles with natures and methods of crime bonded by the one that originally juxtaposed all this. And it was completely for a fact-cheating nature racket. For lie progression cover was a breaching method. Lie progression cover-up nature. They're keeping undercover trainings on off campus where they use the right to lie. And they're hurting each candidate. And they want and need to pretend the branches that they care about neutrality. They're victim predators. But we have to be able to have free speech to demonstrate this. The courts have been directing the news to fake news. Their police, their private police, and the interbranch police, in court, out court, recorded sex crime rules, collusion with it, with the principal sex offender. First, they forced to sustain. See, then people want to make opinions about what they have no empirical experience with. This is also how it was as a database crime method, because people are telling them to sin. That's why I say, who disbelieves? They switch names into branch also, switching sequences too with this. Different ways, different natures of sequence lies. Offensive uses of courts already through time, per their having been raised, also enter everything, enter concept, into religious spots next to corners of schools, medical corruption, where they're using that juxtaposed with courts and ranges of the law, left with Russians and with, all nations here juxtaposed. Fake original founders, not our founders. I mean, in other words, they had to hide their roles, and that was worse than obfuscated. What they had to pretend, the experts who know the most are pretending they don't realize that, and they're glorifying that to hide what our lesson was. which is the identity of correlation, which is a gaining value, which is gaining with and as the value of our nature, no longer top down. Each modern nation is in collusion, suits and ties in the counters. That's why they can't value the first part of the crime. So the hard parts stay, and all stay wrong. Because this is fluent non-distinctly through our nations. So that's why do you think they have the pillars of Islam, 5, like the Yin Yang, distinctly and non-distinctly from the Quran itself? Because the identity of space as the identity of existence, it is so distinctly and non-distinctly, but it is also so where, even though it is only a semi-nature of itself, as the identity of space, the identity of existence, as space is a semi-nature of its complete identity, which is the identity of existence. Then that comes into space, and it was already valued beyond it a little bit. In other words, this is demonstrable. This is science. This is not theory. And this correlates, what needs to deny this needs to do it from the background. Can't protract reason. Needs the interscience physical delusions, criminal foreign influences recorded. Interscience categorically, sequentially, justifications of that. There are proofs that Mueller might not even be. He might be just an actor. Because of the nature. See, they have what's his name? Smart guy. All victim predators. Noam Chomsky talking about the doomsday clock when it gets, I don't know if that's the name of it. In other words, at 12 o'clock, we'll come close to it. We're the end of the world. See, but every time, all we have to do is keep it real. But no one does that. And they don't do it the same way, non-distinctly and distinctly, in between what are now throughout the land's suburbs and styles of homes and means to them, infrastructural pathologies, denatured relationships to nature, even when in contrast it's only theater, no depths, no life. This is not what evolves as nature that connects with the rest of the identity of existence, and it has that more and more come in, because it has that we're gaining that's where we'll come to this, like singing, that type of thing. See, when we come to the nature of criminal insidiousness, we have doctors, we have interbranch actors, misprising criminality, different natures of personality, pretending different opinions. Used, like, for example, pretend they don't like people because they hear they're a boxer. Pretend, because they're writing fake things in databases. We have interbranch women, private women, women doctors, women with a Leahy family, recorded, confessed, raised with interbranch families, pretending they had identity thefts, attaching me to fake news with courts, with their drug clicks and sex offender clicks and evidence fabrication nature clicks with courts and with campuses, because they have interbranch police with bad things, boxing, intercity through time, and police forms, they were raised as victims. So they don't know how to explain. This is what Mr. Kennedy, President Kennedy, Chief Kennedy, said: we have a conspiracy against this country. The police are refusing to report, and because they're exploiting. retired and standing, how they have mental diagnosis that they're recorded consciously using to pretend, and then pretend they don't realize that all forged conversations, fake conversations, criminal uses of loaded statements, implying things, criminal applications of exception nature, which I don't even understand because they raise victim predators. Let's read my website. I've put it on the ancientgamingsystem.com, but it's on another one, but I don't know, it's like some long name. So anyway, Yin Yang is inside letter O, omega, and left to right value, mid to left value, overall value are together. Like the species is overall down to nations, to the trinity of nations, area sciences, and state sciences, beyond our control, the nature of positive, in other words, its relationship to our value nature system. Value nature is being discerned distinctly from values nature, because values nature is the identity again. That is the identity of existence. And that is the identity of space simultaneously. Before then, as while gaining that before nature of semi-nature of itself as these. Leaf of Hadith through systems left. Now markets and conceptions of them or with physical delusions per recorded original and state differential torture and juxtaposed natures and methods of extortion and slavery system. And these are not means. Before cars, before our founders' births, they had these home styles and they had the pathology set up, knowing first it was better to be in Hartford, except for exceptions, specifically for fact, cheapy nature racket, lie progression, cover up natures, rules to be cultivated, as victim predators, as all modern nations, not really realizing what staying justifications as trained. We have victim predators to each branch. In other words, they were never separate. They were never allowing correlation. They were defending as victim predators what you can't defend in us at the same time. They're defending, preventing anyone from speech inside of jails and outside of jails with the same interbranch cliques, because of the jails in their prison undercover recorded in collusion with the overt criminal enterprises and with the cliques with like policing of stores and stuff like that, because these are other natures and methods of crime that are manifest, never allowed, told on, because nations there, here, with all these, where we're only the extent of pseudo positive, there and here, with the market's positions, and with all that tied to that eating, we have to eat. We have to. Everyone's gonna. Is a nature of violence that is forcing that, pretending to be positive, but preventing that from being countered. All that's exploiting that, because and pretending there's science. Because science, all it needs to do is keep it real and value what was is before, and then as the value of the finite, as active body of value discernment, noting exceptions simultaneously, and noting the value of progression as a relationship to nature, being ground, body of value, discernment, and overall progression's value, all finite, grouped, and all progression value progressions together are bonded. But there's not the bond itself that's the value, but it's the bond itself, and simultaneously the bond's relationship to itself, which is a value progression that is only there is and will only be and stay perfect, not as the volume, as everything, but what's causing that to gain value and to gain volume through us identity is the phenomenon of a little bit more and a little bit more of the complete nature of existence coming into space nature. And while it's going out of it, all things demonstrate this. All things are the same course onto and as itself. Because while we are bonded distinctly and non distinctly from the rest of nature, that's why not only are we grouped, but their sexes is a little bit more value too than just grouped. And if you don't appreciate that, which we don't, because you can't do that because they're going through equality, they're going with physical delusions and with psychology originally uncharged, still uncharged. We have a conspiracy against our nations. Now, how many doctors work at? See, these are with opinion natures in relationship to this knew that it would build worse than witch trials, obviously. But they, in other words, that was entrenched here since before our founders. Thank God for them. Thank God for the messengers of religions, Alpha and Omega. This is about the alphabet. Omega. It's about Yin Yang. How to see. Invisible but still discernible. The nature of and the identity of. Even more valuable than the nature of. Positive. See them simultaneously. This is correlation simultaneously, inherent, active, and progressive means as ratiocination, and or as the ability to discern pseudo-ratiocination from ratiocination, which is not prevented. Free speech and or nor liberty, which does not exist, but as a criminal insidiousness nature, as pseudo-positive. It's not politics. That's victim predator told to call it politics. And that's, in other words, this is also per, like for example, their sequence shifting, evidence fabricating, and switching names, stuff like that. It's a branch. But I'm saying, for example, they're not supposed to be doing hearsay either. One way they are getting around that is because their roles with live progressions and methods of crime. When we come down to them, that's where we'll come down to the methods of crime now, where they're faking witnesses, where they're attaching people to fake relationships to real witnesses that are fake, but they would never, you know, put anything on paper because that could be demonstrated. It's recorded. It's confessed by the people. They also use the systemic, all kinds of juxtaposed crime methods and live progression cover up nature's needs and roles per how our campuses, other nations recorded and confesses too. It's not just interbranch here. This maintaining the torture of other nations hurt more by the same thing that's non-distinctly hurting here with all these gangs. These criminal enterprises, the victims, predators, but they're victims that they don't know how to explain it because this is juxtaposed intercampuses since semi-ancient times. It just reminds campus from Marcius was a excuse me, value nature relationship to nature revealed by nature itself. And nature will continue to demonstrate negative value nature progressions, the length of hadiths. And it's not going to do it much longer. The pendulum of outer space. The pendulum. The pendulum. The pendulum. The pendulum. The pendulum. The pendulum. The pendulum of outer space will come. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not going to stop gaining the value of, in the volume of positive value nature. We can stop the generation of positive value nature as we have. That's what makes it us go more and more into space. That's not wisdom. That's not even smart. That's not even smart. Oh, fuck. I don't know why I said that. Call through all art. Religion, train. So we need to counter. This is consciously preventing people from demonstrating mandates theft, for example. And that shows how we have behavior crimes, physical delusions, and it shows a lot more because you can see how they're categorically maintained on off campuses. Then they made those branches of colonization, crazy branches, and prisons tied to that, tied to what they had. One of those crazy prisons in Europe. St. Nicholas was in the prison. Then after he got out, they had him come because they had to figure out how to defend, fact treatment nature wise, the nature of the law, and ask questions and how to defend the identity of the church. But they didn't know because the crim campers, they knew per the plan where the religions had to do this, not just even Yin Yang, even the forms of it in all nations, religion, because modern nations were tactically divided, hurt, tricked, tortured, all this juxtaposed, fake care juxtaposed, to consciously keep everyone juxtaposed to their own needs and natures, needed to blame the causes of negative value nature progressions on others and other things, on other selves. And then to defend that. So we have pseudo-positive, real fast courts and or real slow, both ways predatory, because they're needed to hide how they're involved with recorded juxtaposed crime methods with areas as victims, but as victim predators. Avert predators with some of them here. They've been painting people to fake conversations their whole lives. So we have behavior crimes. Then they're going to make, see, if you ignore people when they tell you something, like a child sex crime act or method recorded, see, they're recorded for having forced sustain worse with, and still with the principal sex offenders campus, who was just sentenced. They were recorded first interbranch sustaining him with interbranch rape threat rolls, with interbranch identity theft acts, in court, out court, online, intercampus, off campus. A whole bunch of girls and boys tried to tell on this stuff through time. Intercity. A whole bunch of girls and boys from my town I never hung around with. Every once in a while they would do say something when I was walking by. They would make a confession to me because there was some kind of with people I don't know from a table. Like, so all of a sudden something will call you to the office, but then you walk by some people you don't, you never met because you just go with the flow of where your classes send you and stuff like that. That stuff was anticipated and used to cover up lie progressions from when I was in grammar school. Dozens of kids that I never had conversation with, stuff like that. Just little. They try to make it personal because it's mixed with people that pretended into databases knew me and had conversations with me, never were. I had nothing. I was just a regular kid. No one cares about the other kids. The kids with passions were God knows what they put in databases. Like a Debbie Gold, her father and her family is recorded and confessed about with crimes with male crimes and with child offenders, with sex offenders proven, in other words, rolls with that, with other natures of crime, with interbranch police, intercity police through time, people with prison cliques, foreign and domestic juxtaposed. So this is maintained for what was his internation since founding, since before our founders' births, specifically for a fact cheap nature racket to keep everyone blaming as a method, not only to keep everyone blaming other things, but to keep roles with that blamed on other, not just to keep that, because they knew this would all share natures of database illusion stacking roles. Natures needed to hide that by exploiting, facilitated for them, each age of fact cheaping nature. Victim predators, racket against them, sequence nature wise, behavior crime wise. We have opinions dishonest, not allowing crime acts reported. This is what Jesus Christ is about. They don't want to. You can't go and have a conversation about crime acts and sequence shifts and crime methods recorded and name switching and identity thefts with areas online, because then you can demonstrate it on paper. Courts are recorded preventing things on paper because they have child offenders tied to them through time with this, with programs with. This is worse than collusion. This is worse than collusion. You see what I'm saying? So we just have too many people. It's not even complicated. They're needing to start fights with people that don't even know each other. And the phenomenon of the people that do know each other, it's only through trouble. You can't judge who did it because sometimes, the word I did going like only like once or twice. I like some kid was bigger than me anyways. I challenged him to a fight. I lost anyways. I don't know how, but these people involved with CCSU, all kinds of database illusion stacking, police forms with interbranch and their family members associated with all kinds of natures, other crime, with all the industries, especially with psychology. Of course, they walk by you, they pretend you had a conversation with them about their drug clicks federal criminals cases tied to them. Federal about cases with federal criminals tied to them, with recorded crime rolls with crime acts proven in cases, like a sequence shift in the Ninth Circuit, proven after, but it was in the context right before the attack. It showed the panel of judges, showing the panel of judges post-dated to appear as if handed in late. My father later proved that he had handed in his papers on time. Now, see, this was unrealized what it was about because I had people making confessions to me before this. And then, that proven after that led to a 2006 case. Also, the Manhattan context was with Connecticut and other internation people on off CCSU with roles with the Trade Center attack and with needs and natures needing to debate overall things like that. Through courts already also recorded various natures of the same, and other courts already invested criminally foreign influence through all their rules with on and off campus investigators and their family members themselves, highest leaders of the states and areas through time, not just a little Mayor Gold tied to the male crime cliques, wire crime cliques, and police crimes with a police station, intercity, identity thefts and stuff like that. All evidence crimes, slanders, roles with that used to sustain child sex offender principle, more recorded tied worse to the school. They first put me in jail, not letting me speak after by the same court already recorded and confessed to Val, even online with rape threats. Before that, with identity thefts, fake arrest of me by an officer, never arrested me in my life. Then at the last second, because they involve all these different departments, and then the on campus after, and a promise to appear first to make all these crazy narratives, and they made mistakes each time. In other words, because I caught them with all kinds of recorded bad things, vaccines. Too many people from my town were raised with criminality. Also, there are 3 dentists that were recorded and confessed involved with I don't know how many were tied to Chris Walters. This is a person I only know from the only time I ever did anything with him privately. One time I went to a wedding of his because he demonstrated, recorded, confessed it was involved with his roles with what I'm talking to you about here, the same child offenders. I've been recording. See, but now I found out that they've been stacking, people with them have been stacking fake recorded things. That's how vaccines. That's how they've been getting away with this so long. These federal criminals intercity associate recorded involved with crimes with kids in my grades growing up that were from the Trade Center context proven sequence shift. Then I was in a 2006 case in Connecticut, and that proven from the Ninth Circuit in Manhattan there. Then it was in the district court in Connecticut, New Haven. And there were those federal criminals and people that were there to see them. Had 3 of those federal, more of them, because also the lawyer of it, their co-defendant, was former standing chairperson on RICO law, Robert Luskin. In other words, it's chairperson as the FBI director. FBI director that demonstrably this one. So this is the guy about the law that's saying that RICO laws Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act. Now, this is this is what nations, like, in other words, a statute, I don't know what they call it in other nations. This evolved from the Organized Crime Control Act, which there was criminality with that wasn't addressed because of how our nations share policing. With that, they've been lying there and here as forced to, but also with that being exploited, where everyone's live progression cover up styles, nature's needs and roles of justifying that, fake passions. And those fake passions are being used to sustain what is preventing free speech. And they could see them doing that. Fox CT, WFSB, they know they're recorded with, they attach me to fake conversations, fake relationships to others, fake relationships to doctors as a kid and as an adult. As a kid, I weren't even at all. As an adult, I weren't even at all. You walk by the person because they forced me. I caught them. I had to raise my voice because I caught them with a behavior crime first. Recorded. Behavior crimes with the past and new neighbors, recorded and confessed involved with crimes with the Dillon family, retired and standing detectives. I have recorded confessed crime roles with kids that were put in classes with me, 2 speech classes. There's also the prison cliques next to the state prison offices and state judicial branch offices. CT is Cherry Tree. George Washington had to come to Wethersfield, Hartford, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, and extort. Could only semi-counter extort what had his slavery through here and through, interstate. But that's right before the last battle. He had the Revolutionary War. He had to meet with the French general in Wethersfield, Connecticut. Not to have, but they had to semi-counter extort what was a whole bunch of nations that they had to leverage into. And then they had the fact cheap nature defend that. And still incapable of being revolution, which is free speech, which is truth sequence, which is true care. So we have not had that. What hasn't been that needs to hide it by pretending passions, pretending fake care, and then justifying that, pretending hate, pretending that real hurt is caused because people are bad inherently. Those are convictions sick that failed our streets, in our cities, in our suburbs, consciously, non-distinctly, and consciously, distinctly, more sickly, non-distinctly and more sickly, distinctly, different ways, not by accident, because the way our nature has a relationship to itself. So where there are the physical manifestations about maps and natures and sides, admitting where there's nothing of substance to work with, can bring in sides that have, because everything's unnatural. What's pathology here? And that's going to cause negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, like predicate acts, criminal insidious natures. And what knew it's going to keep it formal, juxtaposed, and needed to keep live progressions, relationships, database relationships. So we have people associated around the Samuel Dick's house also recorded and confessed involved with identity theft crime laws, with courts that also use them by directing with police forms and stuff like that, and doctors involved criminally with the child offenders and stuff, with on and off campus retired and standing police forms, which are just fact treatment nature reactions with no sophistication. Because of the stream, this is 99.9% of the crime. This is time as a weapon to all positions of fact treatment nature, each age of fact treatment nature, each person individually, together, group, progressively, sequentially, till sabotage correlation nature, tactically maintained, methodically maintained, her needing to pretend they believe fake sides of issues, fake middle. In other words, pretend they are, as trained through, maintain their here, fake integrity into branch. Politics narratives, voting narratives, they need to pretend voting means what it doesn't. Physical delusions regarding voting. Physical delusions. Not even let demonstrate because with criminal and foreign influences, not let demonstrate because we have opinion natures. No, maintain offensively. Need to hurt correlation nature's voice, free speech. Please, WFSB, Fox CT. Please fix the fake news. Admit that I didn't have a relationship to doctors that you said in the past. Admit that the courts were recorded with online Facebook, also with the police, with rape threats, messaged and posted online. And they switched names and forged names, and they did it each year before that in other relationships because they're involved with connected crimes with my previous neighbors and new ones intercity connected. The new ones in New Britain and tied to this Dylan guy, retired and standing, and tied to his family of other retired and standing detectives associated down the street and other police firms like state police and like FBI with the area and their roles with peripheral things tied to the witness protection program and where and how they were recorded in collusion with juxtaposed overt criminal enterprises down as orchestrated finite sequence shifts and other illusions stacking roles together progressively and sequentially and with the area and with the same further child offenders into branches. These are also families missed how tied to being dealing with drugs, the drugstores, as the cliques with the same policing of it, involved with the identity thefts, all kinds of recorded predicate actuals, like attaching me to fake conversations, forging names about trade center attack, like a Leahy family. Him recorded and confessed involved with federal criminally, that he attached me to the fake conversations about cases of lying about the outcome of the cases. My father won an NLRB case against a union that had been doing pension theft, all kind of bad things, and they had bad rules with kids in my grade growing up, and with police chief's family extended now, and his daughter. I never had a class with her. I had a conversation with her. John Mayano and others recorded and confessed that she was involved with force sustained principal sex offender and other police that were abusing the kids, as recorded, forcing that sustained with and as interbranch cliques already recorded and confessed about, because they've been stacking databases against me, pretending things were recorded to hide their live progressions, because these are people also that were co-defendants of the former director of the FBI. All other natures of criminal uses of their standing knave roles. They are here, modern nations. It's an organized crime method when you say black is not what it is, which is the color of our pupils. I've never seen a person that color in my life. But it's also when you say white is what it's not. It's not just because of simple things like that. Because when you use such like that left untold about to hide the method that was recorded, to pretend not to realize that our founders didn't have free speech, to pretend not to realize to be glorifying the speech that wasn't free. CT is cherry tree, not open or peach. It just won't teach. Fake branches fall. Please build the wall. So please have patience. See, so I hate when our presidents politic against each other, force that. It's because there's a nature of states and areas of inclusion that is a sick nature that's forcing that. Within has precedents, it's off the books, but it's known, sick. See, but everyone was a victim, predator. The sciences that had, everyone invested, blaming others, hurting correlation nature, tricking correlation nature, defending that, behavior crime rules, fake passions, that fake, physical delusions, used measured, try to report. They know that's proven, it's recorded. 2006 case, former director in New Haven District Court. Federal criminals in that court that day recorded and confessed involved with crimes leading up to the court that day with on-off CCSU, interbranch military ones too. Recorded since they were kids with crime rules, with evidence perception bodies as strangers. Then they want to take it totally recorded. The only time I ever went anywhere with Chris Walters, I never, besides real quick things, boxing, was that wedding thing, which he had demonstrated was going to be what I needed to know because he was used for what is overtly criminal, but I couldn't believe I wouldn't be able to be able to counter it so long because they're stealing my voice. This is a method. They're not just doing it to me. They're doing this to everybody. This is a method of identity theft that is also creating to exploit each exception. In other words, there's people that I don't know, but that I know, only from this, and, we then you get into like rhetoric. And see, even that, we need to have pseudo rhetoric and rhetoric discern distinctly from each other. We have to have pseudo semantics and semantics discern distinctly from each other. So we have naive, fake passions that need to go, it's semantics, which is the function of words. We have pseudo positive, forced. Our course of American history is not just about slavery. It's about a slavery differential system. About what sustains slavery is not slavery itself. It's a juxtaposition of juxtaposed natures of extortion. You want to go force people to do unnatural things over here, you got to do one kind of extortion. Think about it. You have to build people into these homes. These before we had cars. They had these before our founders' birth. They had this pathology of homes. It's still the pathology. They made bricks then before we had cars and stuff like that. Were robots. Okay, Amazon. The whole I saw it on a picture on the and they have all the automated robots, and they don't bump into each other, and they just go with the lines. Simple, you know what I'm saying? But it's from a base that is being glorified because the criminally foreign influence sciences they're here, and with that, what where are not just justifications of it and forced reliance upon that they're here. This is not to knock Amazon. The campusmarcias.com affiliate. Well, I'm not good affiliate. I didn't take the time to make it good enough. But there's some products on there. But I'm trying to say, well, that's theater. That's advertisement. But it's juxtaposed criminal insidiousness nature. You can't legalize this, modern nations, but they justify it because the nature of needing to follow further what was every position was taken as odds to a value nature system that would never do the do the mathematical but fit doesn't fit everybody because it was built as a psychopath's system. But this is the devil. This is an organized crime method that came before modern nations. Because this knew if it could get states and areas to defend other than already had been revealed as a gaining value to our nature itself, then they could get people to defend needs to hide lie progressions. They could get all sophistication contained, reliant upon areas and states maintained, juxtaposed, tortured, and methods of extortion and fake care juxtaposed differentially, blamed on other causes, exploited, not by accident, not by accident. Not one, not one, not one body had real legal representation, real free speech. Fake news steals our free speech because they're involved. How they can't? They're that's recorded. That's election crimes through administrations. I've been asking them to report this with Connecticut predicate acts tied to all kinds of crimes with agencies and their family members, and with Billy Grasso body dumping spot tied to a Faenza family that I don't know, and others that like strangers like that they had come up to me to make serious confessions and then not let it reported. Also, a Sal Civil across the street from one of them, he recorded and confessed involved with a Klotz family down the street, involved with the retired and standing detectives and police forms, recorded and confessed involved with the crimes with the kids, even and the sex offenders cliques, and rolls with the prison cliques, with the gangs and drugs and all kinds of stuff with undercovers, with a have identity thefts, stack, crime methods and acts and cases more, not just the proven one in the Ninth Circuit from the Trade Center case that led to the 2006 case in the Connecticut court. Leading up to that 2006 case, they were on off campus CCSU, recorded and confessed interbranch police and military police, foreign and domestic inclusion with the coercion of male and female students and men and women, employees and professors, and other relationships to the college through the family members of such, and like a Gilmore that reportedly has a new name now on the corner of Park Church Street in Weathersfield, in the um a guy with the acting department and a Frankie Reese recorded and confessed with others with drugs, crime roles with kids, and with doctors, with sex offender cliques tied to the house. That's also a Cohen recorded and confessed involved with federal criminals, federal crime roles with police, like a detective Samuda pretended he arrested me. Never arrested me. I pretended he had a conversation with me. Till I was in a hospital, he worked that once. Never had a where walked up to someone next to me, made confessions at a court case, and handed us a police report, and then pretended he was the guy who arrested us. Or, in other words, and that was with other departments already recorded and confessed involved with the same natures of federal crimes. Already recorded them switching the names, like the name McGee, recorded and confessed in a different one involved with MPO Floyd, also recorded and confessed involved with doctors forging names, with drug crimes, with these, and with their crime roles, with overt criminal enterprises, recorded and confessed involved with them, with the Eastern States Narcotic Drug Task Force, and their roles with the child sex offenders, blocking my ability to make a police report about behavior crimes with the retired and standing detectives with the sex offender cliques, like this Dillon guy. Also recorded and confessed involved with Nas this sick, with Chris Walters. Nah, he knows I was only in his presence. One, Mike Pandolf also recorded and confessed involved on off campuses, identity crimes, and crimes with evidence reception bodies, intercampuses, and his roles with, intermilitary identity theft fakes, evidence crimes with evidence perception bodies. Also, a McCord family recorded and confessed involved with them and their lawyers and stuff like that with such where they try to pretend that I knew them by painting illusions. They also recorded and confessed involved leading up to the 2006 case, having directed Alicia's that share that name interstate on off campuses, connected, mixed all kinds of people that were criminally involved with this growing up, intercampus with fake conversations with me, real mean things, lies. I don't want to use names of people because I don't know the Alicias, but there's also a Joshua Stryker that a Dean Alford recorded switching names, and he has crime roles with like criminal justice on off CCSU involvements with people from Connecticut boxing involved, with judges criminally, with the kids involved through time, and with the state prison officers, all that tied to that. And with identity thefts, they keep stacking, switching names into branch, stacking sequence shifts. And you can see these are in Connecticut cases. And these are crime acts used to hide from what they were recorded and involved with, which were all kinds of natures of bad things, boxing, on off CCSU intercity, leading up to the 2006 case and leading up to the Trade Center too. Same click, intercity, interstate, through time. Also, Middlesex Community College. I don't know if Robert Luskin was ever there or Gow. It was like old time. That's what the president has top down. And, the Mueller probe is where opinionators are being maintained criminally for and influence fake sides there and here. The Mueller probe is being used to hide FBI recorded crime rolls leading up to and since the Trade Center attack, with the former director and with those tied, foreign and domestic, with this. And through methods keeping them at the same time, and this, where nations are valuing conflicts needed between us and other nations, conflicts needed between those nations, and themselves and us. And we're all mixed and crazy. You can't defend what we are value nature progression as and any self at the same time. Nature is going to continue to cause negative value nature progressions, action nature. We have to use ground as positive. Before then as the value of the order of the finite is the value of the order of all things vaccine and together. The value of the progression, not just the bond onto all things grouped and finite, but the value of what's only allowing more volume of positive forever nature that is also positive onto itself, which is positive value nature, which is the difference between temporary and lasting. In other words, we were automatically temporary positive, but while we're being positive, our nature has a further positive or negative relationship to itself as a quality of diffusion. Our life is physical, but our identity is before and beyond this. In demonstration of it, we are, as a complete body of value, further a semi-nature relationship to the complete identity of space. And then even at the same time to the complete identity of existence. And that's distinctly and non-distinctly because it's distinct and non-distinct unto itself. But as that, it is still as that value, the bond before, and then as the value of all finite. So we're still before together, even though that's it. So the identity of space is the only semi-nature that is also positive as nature. The only other, in other words, our body is positive only because it has nature coming through it and to it. Because everywhere there is space, value was before, and is this already beyond what could be made from it. In other words, inherent volume, active volume, progressive volume. And progression is value, which is the non-distinct, which is distinct way. In other words, the distinct way. Space's identity stays onto all parts of itself. So if we're not gaining perfect value progression, volume of positive identity nature, we're forced as negative value nature. Bottom of the Z. No one can see. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Anthony Wall. Please subscribe to ancientgamingsystem.com. And that's what we do. Or if you do, everybody in the world wants ground as positive. wants means to come out of the recorded criminally foreign influence infrastructural pathology we are in from a tactically denatured base before and then with NASDAQ. With because that's maintained, putting the other and other thing. Boxing. Yeah.